Join us on the Healing Project, where true voice conquers silence and nurtures growth.
All right, the Healing Project.
Episode 7.
Yes, here we go. Welcome, everybody. We're glad you're a part of this community, first and foremost.
Yes.
Community we have for safe space and grace for people to grow and heal together. So we're glad you're here. Like and subscribe. We don't do that enough. Please like and subscribe. We're a legitimate podcast now.
We are.
And
we have been recognized.
2 books that you've led the charge on, writing most of that. I know my name's on it. And I contributed a small amount, but you've completed 2 books on the companions with some of our discussions with being able to work on the latest ones on burnout and from ashes to embers.
Ashes to embers.
And then we're talking about In Ink, and that's a book companion
for grief.
So if you're interested in either one of those, they're priced well where you can have them shipped directly to you, and we hope that it's a benefit. So
for sure.
That is a shameless plug. Shameless plug.
For sure. So, but today we are talking about finding your voice.
Yes.
And especially when no one is listening. We're talking about the moments when we speak up, share your truth, set boundaries, or finally tell your story, and you're met with silence or worse, even judgment.
Yeah, sure. This is a tough one, right? This is a tough one because it's about speaking up. And a lot of times if you're in this situation, you probably haven't spoken up. You haven't been able to share your voice. And the truth is that if you're not sharing your voice, if you're not giving that opportunity, it's actually what's in the dark is going to fester and become more infected.
Right.
And so being able to speak up is kind of shining the light on it. From the beginning of this, we started as a healing discussion that led into my participation, and then it just has grown.
It's evolved.
And we've said, we don't have the answers, but we want to make a safe space for people with grace that they can work and find those answers. So this topic of speaking up and not being silent is a necessary but not easy one.
It's not. And it's really, you're more in the hot seat than I am.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of going through your story and what that means. And we're going to talk about why being silent can be harmful. One, in our growing up, it's how we were taught. You didn't show emotions or get upset, or we didn't talk about the things that were happening behind closed doors at home.
Sure.
Whether that was abuse or neglect or hunger or addiction or whatever that was, you did not air your dirty laundry. Isn't that what that was the phrase? You didn't tell people what was going on at home.
It was almost considered like the more silent you were, the stronger you were. We have the strong silent type. And that kind of was pervasive in not only our parents' generation, but the generation especially before, because they were in survival mode most of the time. For most Americans, it went through, you shared this before, but
the Great Depression, World War II,
whatever that was, and later, like our parents experienced like the Vietnam era, and a lot of that change wasn't necessary for their benefit. And you come from a strong ethnic family and some generational trauma passed down, and things that even I've learned about. We're going to talk about me and my story, but my story began with trauma experience because of addiction. But I think about it, and I'm grateful for the healing process, because I've been able to have conversations like with my father, who experienced his childhood and how much more traumatic it was, and how likely he was to kind of fall into that category of being at risk for certain behaviors, and then how that kind of affected my life. But it was just not having the tools.
Yeah.
You didn't talk about it.
You didn't.
You just didn't talk about it. It's just, There's stuff you just didn't talk. You talked about everybody else, but what was really going
what
on?
was really going on at
You
home?
know, what was really happening?
So the fact is, according to Dr. Gabor Maté and the National Health Organization, says that the body will always manifest what the voice suppresses.
Yeah.
When you stay silent about your pain, your nervous system doesn't feel safe. That chronic activation, it turns into burnout, anxiety, depression, and even autoimmune disease.
And he's written a great book on trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And how trauma is not a historical event, because if it's a historical event, we cannot. There is no hope.
Right.
It's set in stone. But because trauma is the way our body stores an event, it is our body's reaction
Mm-hmm.
to certain environmental factors.
Mm-hmm.
And so trauma has a unique effect on us because it causes us, at first, we're wounded and we kind of withdraw, right? When we withdraw, we become silent. And then the more we become silent, the more that we've not set up a healthy boundary,
Mm-hmm.
so that people know when you've crossed this boundary, it has a negative effect on me, or can be very detrimental to me.
Right.
And so if we're not speaking up, yes, the trauma happened. Yes, we experienced this. And yes, it's unfair that happened.
All right. So
but it's our responsibility now
it is
to deal with it.
Let's get into the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
So growing up,
Right.
you were one of two boys in a household, oldest
Yes.
of the two. You've told me stories of your mom giving you a Bible.
And my brother a
Xbox.
Your
brother an Xbox.
I got a Thompson chain.
So it was early on,
Sure.
right, that you were touched, called, going to be
Sure.
moving into the vein.
And I had that desire as a kid, and some of this, there's two things that can be true at once,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's hard to distinguish what was from a healthy perspective and unhealthy perspective. So from a healthy perspective, I did have this feeling of a call or a draw of the divine to serve, what we would call shepherd other people. I would just say serve them, lead them in a way that it would be taking care of them.
Mm-hmm.
So in a spiritual aspect, that was through the role of pastoring. So from a young age, I kind of had this direction, and at the same time, I was experiencing in my life kind of turmoil that was like turning my world upside down. At home, I was experiencing addictions fallout, right? And this is a big plug for people that have gone through this, because you fall into codependency very quickly. My mother fell into codependency very quickly. She's passed, God rest her soul, to her reward. But the truth is that codependency very quickly can become your codependency if you're in that environment.
Generational.
Right. So I had, on the one hand, in my life, I felt this draw and this call. On the other hand, I'm going, and the pressure on the church. And again, when I have conversations that kind of withdraw ourselves from any blame or anger, because the system that I was in wasn't able to be end all be all, and we should never put the pressure on it, but it was kind of expected, right? Like I went to the Christian school, I went to, I didn't go hang with my worldly friends on Friday or go to the football game. I went to like youth rallies on Friday night, and so the church was like this cocoon. But on the outside of that, in my other world, everything was falling apart, and there was not a transparency. It was almost like you got dressed and you became a different persona and different person. So there was something attractive to that from an early age, that I could not be this kid that, everything was falling apart at home, but I could project and be this other thing, a persona, an ego.
So would you say this is a fair statement? I had a pretty good run. I climbed in ministry.
Yeah.
I looked like I had it together.
Sure.
But it wasn't my voice. It was a performance that I learned to survive.
100%. So if you go a little bit further back, because of some of these situation challenges, like I was severely dyslexic as a kid, and learning I couldn't read publicly, and it struggled. Like I was so far behind in reading, and there was a dear precious saint in the church that actually came and volunteered her time and helped me to increase my she would help me increase not my pronunciation, but my retention. So I had really high retention because I could kind of catch the story. So I learned to read people more than I did than I could letters. I learned to read people and environments, and I got really good at like the church environment because there's kind of these rules, and you could get kind of good at that. It was kind of an environment where if you read the environment, read the room, there's nothing wrong with the emotional part of it, but there is. I was born and raised, Pentecostal, so it was a very jubilant, emotionally charged spiritual environment, and yes, two things can be true. Yes, that's good and necessary, and it's part of who we are, but it can be in the opposite to where you kind of play a part. You're playing a persona and you're playing a role, and you're not speaking up because from an early age, my mother had all this weight on her shoulders. My father was struggling, and there was cycles of rehabilitation and different prison and all this happening, and this real catastrophic things happening. At the same time, you put on your church clothes
and none of
and
that
go to
and none of that truth was being shared.
It wasn't
no one in church or in y'all's
they
world
knew,
really knew what was going on.
Yeah, they knew if they came in contact with it, but it wasn't something that we had. We didn't have a space where we could go to Al-Anon for families of alcoholics or drug addicts. That's necessary and needed. You need, if you're not in one of those groups and you've experienced those things, you need to go to find one of those groups. You need to go to a support group, right? Those things weren't. It was kind of like have good church on Sunday,
right?
Especially Sunday night. You have a what we would call kind of a blowout service. Everybody would get really jubilant and excited and happy, and there is benefit to that. There is benefit, but it does come with a cost of authenticity, because we don't want to we don't want to share. And there's a command in Scripture where we are to confess our sins, our shortcomings, and Jesus defines sin as missing the mark. When he tells the woman they finds in adultery, they're going to stone her and kill her, and he turns to the whole crowd, says, "You without sin, cast the first stone." The oldest to the youngest, they all drop their stones and walk away. And he's like, "Where are those ones that accuse you? They're not around anymore." And he says, "Neither do I condemn you. Go your way and sin no more." What an impossible thing to say. Like, what? How is that even possible? But his literal speech there was go forward and quit aiming so low from the target. Like his definition, like literally, if you look at that definition, it's basically bring your aim up, right? Bring your aim higher,
Doesn't that
bring
seem
your
so
aim
much
elevated.
more achievable or
Yes,
obtainable
well,
than
it's
go
an
and
actual
sin no
mantra.
more?
It's a mantra to live by.
Right.
So this is the idea. So later on in Scripture, we're told to confess our faults or our sins where we're not hitting the mark, because the reality is we can't control what's happened to us, but once it's happened to us, it's now our responsibility. And some of it becomes weight and sin or whatever that is, whatever that definition is. But if you confess it, then you can be healed. That's basically what it says. If it's unconfessed, confess it cannot be healed. And whether that is, you might not have a safe space to do that right now, but you may be able to do that in a journal form. And I know we can talk about some of those things, but so for me,
when did little Matthew, who had become now successful in preaching,
sure,
and you went to Bible college,
I did.
You got married super early because that was you were
expectations.
building the book that made sense,
the playbook,
in the organization that you were in. So at what point did you need your voice to be heard, and where you really were?
Oh, wow. It came at a decisive moment that I should have spoke up, and I didn't, because I had experienced so much of what you're describing. Like, you play the part, you do all the right things, and you can see red flags, you can see things going on, and there was a situation that I should have taken a really, and this isn't a I don't want someone to misinterpret, but I should have stood up for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I should have spoke up and been more straightforward and blunt and more courageous for myself and fought for myself. But I felt like it was out of my control and I was being controlled. And because of everything that had happened in my past and all this trauma I'm bringing in, and I hadn't seen a counselor, I hadn't gone to Al-Anon, I hadn't got a support group that was specific to what I had gone through. Because again, the spiritual environment that you were brought up is like, have a good prayer meeting, and then you're going to go home and everything's going to be okay.
Fine.
I don't have, but I haven't worked through the tools necessary by common grace given to us. I haven't worked on those tools and developed those muscles. So when it came down to an early stage in my life and my career path or ministry path, I can remember where I was, and I could give you the very specific details, and I could, expose some things and make someone look bad, and that's not the point.
No.
The point is, I didn't have that place in my own life where I had exercised enough authenticity and spoke up enough so that when it was necessary for me to do so, I didn't have
the ability.
I didn't have the ability. And I think about that a lot. I think about that moment, and if that moment would have come along now and I was faced with the same situation, the outcome would have been much different.
100%.
And it probably would have,
and to be fair, until you and I were together, I mean, we've been married for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And this last June made 2 years. Until you and I were together, I had never experienced a true relationship where I felt like it was okay for me to be me.
Yeah.
Authentically me, who I really am and what I really think, and when I'm goofy or silly or whatever. I multiple personalities at times, but I didn't feel that it was ever a safe place to be me.
Right.
Or was there a safe place to talk about my trauma, my hurt, my pain,
right,
the things I've carried and the places I've been? And in a sense, that's kind of where this kind of birthed out of is
right.
If I had gone all these years of my life without ever feeling that there was truly a safe space where I could be authentically me, hear my own voice,
right,
tell my own story, if that was true for me, it's true for so many other people.
And I think it is absolutely. I think we put the pressure on, like you say, well, how can you be in this, this spiritual environment and not kind of have some of those needs met? Just because it is an environment doesn't mean that it's a healthy environment. And just because people may be good at a specific element of even spirituality doesn't mean that they're a whole person. And we talked about the 12 steps, and you don't get until the place of like sharing with others and helping another person until you're kind of at that 12th step.
Yeah.
And there's no judgment, there's no shame, there's no throwing like I blame the church or I blame an ex or I blame this person or that leader or all the things, because I did go through kind of that life altering situation, and in the span of about 9 months, kind of lost everything. Marriage, pastoral role, all that changed. And it's kind of having a conversation for anybody that's experienced major loss. Again, it doesn't have to just be singular with a person. It can be a situation, family member, friend, position.
Right.
For me, it was a whole persona. It was every part of my life was wrapped up. And some of those decisions were made to try to protect my family and kind of get things back together. And then when that even fell apart, it's like, what do you even have? Like all I have now is my silence and my brokenness. Because when I finally did start speaking up, when I finally got to the point, and this is years and years and years and years into my life, long, I should have been in a much healthier place. When I finally did start speaking up, it was so radical, and almost devastating, because telling the truth does not come without consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Telling the truth there is some risk at speaking the truth. There is some risk at setting boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not doing it in a healthy way consistently, it will be such a shock to every system that you're a part of when you start actually speaking up.
Right.
And it'll be devastating. It'll be devastating.
It will. And we had shared this scripture before, but for God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. That, to me, in the past has meant so many other things.
Yeah.
And now in the healing journey is permission.
Right.
It's permission to have a voice, to be heard, to tell my story, to what truth am I afraid of? What am I holding in that is that inflamed, toxic, broken place that needs to be healed?
And they're hiding. That hiding
Mm-hmm.
just causes nothing but fear, shame. You feel alone. You feel hopeless.
Yeah.
You feel like you're on an island by yourself. We've talked about people that we have been acquainted with, and there was someone that they had this secret debt, and then it was so devastating they wouldn't tell it, and then when it finally came out, they couldn't hold it anymore, and then it was a tragedy. It was. And why was that? It's because you just didn't tell the truth. Like when things first started to go sideways, do we have a safe space?
I think that we may have more people on our side and in our corner than we think we do. I think a lot of times we silence ourselves and our story, and we put everything into this nice little box because we don't want people to see us in an unfavorable light.
Yeah.
So it's easier to pretend and to put on the face than it is to be honest and be truthful about where you are and where things are hurting.
The two different world experiences that I would be like this teenager. My dad would be struggling, and we've been able to heal and have those conversations, but he'd be struggling with addiction, and people we'd call brother and sister, and they talk to my mom and, hey, tell brother Donnie you said hello and how's he doing, just thinking like he's missed a couple of a couple of services, and like he's in a place of relapse, and it led to like devastation. And I'm looking at my mom where she's like, oh yeah, I'll tell him.
I'll let him know.
I'll let him know. And I'm thinking like, what are we, it's just two different, like, but because she was in a place of codependency. And again, we use those words so quickly, but it's just simply being a spot where your actions cause my reactions, and the only actions are my reactions.
Right.
So I'm not focused on myself. You learn this in Al-Anon. You really have to draw that circle around yourself, and you can't do anything especially when you're healing. You can't do anything else about anyone outside of that circle.
Right.
You have to take care of yourself first. That's kind of like the idea that
it's the giving up of the control.
Right.
I can't
Focus
make you. Me. I can't make you love me, give to me,
I can't
do for
make
me.
you make your bed, but I can make
my own.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that because we have, through odd circumstance, we've had people come into our world that have been through addiction.
Yeah.
In the world of recovery.
Yeah.
Some of our best friends, right, are recovered addicts from multiple different things, from alcohol to serious drugs and lifestyle. Having heard some of their stories is unbelievable, like unbelievable. In the same token, they have learned in the world that they're in that it's okay to tell their story.
Right. They have that tool.
They have that tool.
Right.
That is such a gift that not everyone possesses.
Right.
And everyone should be able to possess. Like everyone needs to have the ability to tell their story and to tell it from a place of not victimhood, but from a place of, this is where I started. This is where I'm going.
Right.
This is what I'm healing. And to move forward. I think, you had said in a past episode about being a victim, right?
Right.
When you can share your story not from being a victim of the story, but being an overcomer of the story. That's kind of when you know
and
it's changed.
We talked a little bit about like what sin was and this definition, and it's literally like the command later is for us to confess those faults, pray for one another, other sins, pray for one another that you may be healed. Right. The spiritual aspect that we missed, we got so good at having good church that it covered up what was really going on, and we never just said, hey, home is falling apart and I don't know if I can deal with this much longer, and this addiction's going on. That because there's not enough transparency in some of those environments because they necessarily aren't healthy.
Right.
And it isn't a judgment on them.
You learned from your childhood home,
right,
to not tell the truth about what was going on in your
100%.
home. 100%. So that when you became an adult and you were the head of your household, it was you hide and conceal.
100%.
You don't let anyone see the dirty laundry.
100%.
And that serves no one.
It served no one. It actually is a detriment. And then when you finally get to a point, if you do get to that point where you finally speak up, again, it's so devastating. It's so devastating because you have not spoken up.
Right.
You're not able to speak the truth in love, right? You're not able to continue the conversation towards somewhere that's peaceable and loving and kind. It's often like an explosion. So again, encouraging people to find safe spaces, because even when you got to that point to where things behind the scenes weren't going well, there can't even be an agreement like, should we go to therapy together? Should we not go? Like, in having those conversations, and when those conversations can't be had, that's a detrimental place. It's a detrimental place.
It is. And the truth is I have watched you for years. We've been together for a while. We've been married for 2 years, but I have watched you for years come from this person that lived in shame and guilt daily. Like that's where
minute by minute.
Yeah, it's where you resided.
Sure.
To coming out of that and becoming this man of faith and the leader of his home, and you've become a leader at work, and people look up to you, and it's not in the same vein, right, of course, as preaching and what you were doing, but it's still people. You're still dealing with people. You're still able to move people in what you're doing. But I've watched all of that, and to know that there are people that might be watching or may be seeing this and have experienced what they feel is church hurt or let down or loss in that avenue, what would you say to them about the voice that they feel they don't have?
I would say to you that you're not helpless and you're not hopeless, even though you feel that way right now. And you do have to find an outlet. You do have to start using your voice. You do have to start exercising the ability to speak whatever that truth is. Because if you don't, it will never find a place of wholeness and healing. And again, you have to be selective on where you share. And if you don't have a safe space right this second, again, I advocate for a health professional, mental health professional that may be able to be with you in that, but just journal it, right? Write down what you're afraid to say. Write down, start with things that you can find some common ground, to the point to where you remove some of the explosive emotions and you're able to just proceed with some sense of, even you'll even find, as you heal, you even find that you can express some understanding for even someone that may have done you wrong. You can even like walk a mile in their shoes. And you don't have to necessarily find a place of complete forgiveness right off the bat, right? Because it's a process, it's a muscle you have to
It
learn to
is.
use. But you can start the journey to where you don't have to carry all of this alone, because that's eventually where it leads, is you feel hopeless and you feel voiceless and you feel like you're never going to find a way out.
Well, and remembering that it doesn't have to be a shout.
Mm-mm.
You just have to start,
Right.
whether that's journaling, voice memos, finding a therapist or a counselor to speak with, going to support groups.
Prayer is a great way.
Prayer.
Finding, again, trusted people, and don't put pressure on certain systems in your life that cannot hold and support that. Not everything is meant to be the end all be all, right? Like, I know we wish we had a better relationship with, person A, B, or C, family member, friend, whatever, and that might not be a healthy place for us before. So we're not going to be able to go into that situation and say, hey, parent or friend or whatever, this is an area I wish you would be more supportive of me.
Right.
And this is what I'm struggling with. If they weren't a place of peace before, they're not going to become a place of peace now. If they weren't a place of support before, they are not going to become a place of support now.
And knowing that not everyone will applaud.
100%.
Right. And some people very much so will still stand in judgment.
Because sometimes life falls apart. And
Right.
I wish I was of the belief that, if I did all the right things, none of this would happen.
Yeah.
I'm not an advocate for divorce. I'm not, within 9 months to a year, kind of lost everything. And finding yourself in that space of, you don't have anything that you once had. Your entire person is gone. Every part, the persona that you've built, the ego that's around that, what you thought was worth.
Yeah.
I thought, if I would speak at the big meeting and in front of thousands, that would be it. That was the apex, of learning and being in that system. And this is what would be the top of the top. And I experienced that and walked off of those platforms after delivering those messages, and nothing changed.
Yeah.
Nothing was better. It wasn't like all of a sudden I started, a whole new portion of life. I was the same person.
Yeah.
I was the same person I was before I went up there.
Yeah.
The same challenges, same red flags. And when we can't use our voice, we can't properly call out the danger zones that we won't have the courage to admit to ourselves, let alone to others.
It's very true. And I think that comes in all areas of life where we, if I could just make $5 more an hour, I could pay off this debt, and this could be different. If I could just take that trip, if I could just buy that new car, if I could just, we always look for, there's always something, whether it's an action, an event,
or a person,
a possession, a material, or a person, right? That if I could just get there, then things would be better. I think is the facade.
It's 100% the facade, and that's the challenge.
You're not going to arrive because of an event or a person or a material possession. You arrive because of the internal work that's being done, and
the healthier
the
you get,
right,
the healthier everything becomes, right? And the truth is that just because we're in a spiritual environment doesn't mean that we're in a healthy environment. We may learn how to have good services and good church, but nothing truly change kind of within. We can even get to the point to where we will, like, for instance, going back to that home life and everything that was going on, and then you go to church and you put on kind of your church, your Sunday best, and you go present your best self and most idealized version of you, but it's so far removed from where you're at, and you can't just be transparent and say, hey, this week I struggle with A, B, and C, and D, a little bit of E, and and go down the list,
right?
And this is where I'm struggling. This is where there's not an opportunity a lot of times for us to have that transparency.
Right.
And if we can't be honest with ourselves, we will not be honest with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So start with yourself. Start with making your own bed.
What is it that Russ would say, that church wasn't a place for the perfect people, right?
Right.
It's we're all sinners.
Right.
We're all sitting in it.
Beggars who found bread is
Yeah.
the best way that I would put it. If you're in a spiritual environment where you're aiming for the highest good and you feel, because it's not perfect, and we put so much pressure on these systems that they're going to be the end all be all. They're going to answer all of our questions and fix all of our problems, and they're going to be every part of it, but they're just an element for us to go practice our spirituality. But our spirituality is a part of who we are. Everything is spiritual. And in that fact, having a space where you can be healthy and whole, and you can be authentic and real.
Back,
yes.
Right.
You have to be willing.
We're never going to arrive.
Right.
I mean, is that, to me, that's kind of the truth of it all.
Right.
Is you're never going to arrive.
It's always in progress.
It's always in progress.
And if not, it's in danger.
If you're not moving forward or moving through or moving, like,
and
going,
sometimes if you're not picking yourself off the ground and trying again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes, okay, have I tried this so many times? Do I need to do something different? And am I doing the right things?
The definition of insanity
is doing the same things over. Sometimes, do I need to let go of a situation that's so detrimental to everyone involved? And that is so difficult, where you were brought up to believe that if you didn't take care of your home, you weren't worthy of anything else. So how am I going to be a pastor if this is, falling apart?
Right.
And then how am I going to lead people? So let me step down and try to protect my kids and protect those people involved. And it's not my ex's fault. It's not the church's fault. Ultimately, I have to look at what is going on and what I'm involved in my world. Am I truly headed towards becoming more whole and becoming more transparent? Or am I regressing? Am I holding on? Am I hiding and becoming less?
In the voice that you have now and the voice that you've learned to use.
Yes.
Would you, I know the answer to this question, so.
Yeah.
Would you still teach from the pulpit, but do it in a different way?
Yes. For sure. And I don't even know what that would look like in a traditional sense. Would I still? Yes, I would. I guess no, I wouldn't. I guess no, I wouldn't. Yes, I would continue to share and to encourage and to build up. I think that I would have done more work on myself to make sure that I didn't need to have a public persona to fill my worth. I felt I had to earn it. I had to earn. I had to earn a right to even participate as a pastor. I had to earn my right in to live. I had to
have a voice.
To have a voice. I had to not just that I had a voice.
So now that the voice,
and that it was my inherent right to. And truthfully, when we say have a voice, I mean telling the truth to myself.
Yeah.
Speaking up to me and saying, listen, this is a hard place, or this is a no for you, or this is, I'm uncomfortable with this. I haven't made my mind up on this yet. I've still, and sometimes tell people I don't have an answer. I don't know what that means.
Right.
I have no clue. You're trying to get me to give you an answer. I don't know.
So in the future, our goal is to be in ministry, but it's in a whole different way.
Yes. And I don't know what that looks like. I love the church. I love the work of the church. And sometimes I don't like the way the church works. And I'm not angry at the church. I'm not angry at the people of the church. But the reality is even going through that catastrophic change, you experience loss. You experience loss when you finally stand up and say, hey, look, this is not okay. and things happen, and things you kind of have some of those losses. I lost friends that I was within an organization my entire life, and the only support I got was kind of outside of that organization and outside of that
learned what you've learned and the things that you've seen and that you've gone through, and the voice that you had then, which was almost silenced to an extent of real life hurt and trauma that was going on through your adulthood, as to what it is now. And you're going through your master's program to become a counselor, which really is learning how to teach other people how to use that voice.
Yes.
Right. Which is beautiful. It's kind of a full circle.
It is.
And then the ministry that you and I have discussed in the future of being somewhere in Africa or Asia, or taking care of kids that have no voice and no one to love them.
Yeah.
So those are all, I guess, dreams of where we're going and what we want to do.
Yeah.
But do you feel that your voice is going to continue to evolve, or do you feel that you have arrived, or that there's new?
I think that anyone that's in healing, you realize that you're either in the process or not in the process. And I just encourage people to just get in the process. Sometimes it's going to look like you're nailing it 10 out of 10. Sometimes it's going to be a 2 out of 10. But just get in the process.
Yeah.
And get in a place where your voice is being exercised at speaking truth. And you can speak the truth in love, especially when it comes to other people. But at the end of the day, we're really not encouraging you to just look to everybody else like, if they would all get it together, or if they would all do the things. Sometimes you're going to have to be honest and say, okay, this is who I'm working on, which is me. I'm in the circle. And there's some things and people and situations I'm holding on to that I need to let go of, and trust that that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't encourage, and I'm not trying to ask anyone to do anything detrimental, but sometimes you've got to be honest about where you're at. Not sometimes all the time you have to be honest where you're at. Sometimes it will require you to take action, and it will require something of you, and set boundaries. And it's not saying everyone in your life is unhealthy and every system in your life is unhealthy, but you do have to be selective in what you participate in. And I would encourage you, be selective, be wise, and you got to tell yourself the truth.
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah.
Start there.
So if you're listening and you feel overwhelmed, misunderstood, or silenced, we want you to know that you matter, that your story matters, and even if one person hears it, it's still worth it.
Absolutely.
We used to think that healing meant fixing everything first. Now we kind of know it just means to stop hiding, to be authentic, to say the thing, to write it down, to sing it, to shout it, to cry it, to pray it, whatever that is.
It gives the power back to you. It takes it from whatever that is.
So before we go, our homework for the week is speak one truth this week. It can be small. Just start
with yourself.
Right.
If you're going to speak truth to someone else, please do it in love.
No.
Please do it in love.
Speak truth for yourself this week. One small thing. Say no without explaining.
Yes.
Right. Set a boundary that you don't have to be everything to everyone. It's okay to say no without an excuse. Journal one hard sentence. If I were honest about one thing, I would say, or God, if I was honest about what I'm afraid of or what's hurting me, this is what it is. Record your voice saying something that's brave, whether that's future, past, present, whatever that might be, something that you have not said out loud, something that is brave. And be sure to tag us. We want to celebrate you. We want to participate in the conversation with you. We want to know what's helping and how you're doing on your journey. We've officially become a podcast, which is exciting. YouTube has recognized us as a podcast on their audio feed. And we have the 2 journal books that are out that are priced really cheap.
So subscribe, and please support. Please support the the work that's available for you with those books. They
Yes.
work as a companion for you to work through. So
Absolutely. And we just want you guys to remember that your voice doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be yours.
yes,
Start small. We're here. We're here for it all.
any step is progress. All right, y'all.
Have a good week.
Have a good week.